Good afternoon, and I'm really excited to be here with you guys today. So we are going to take a deep dive between direct-to-garment and dye sublimation printing and just really determining which one is the best fit for you as far as technology in your business goes. So let's get started. All right. To give you a little bit of a background on IT supplies, we have been established since 1998, so over 20 years in business, and we actually started off in the fine art world, and we gradually went into our roll-to-roll as well as our textile division. So one of the things that's really, really important to IT supplies is people, people, people. We really, really care about you, and we also care about each other when it comes to this industry. We also have a dedicated textile team who keeps you up to par on all the different things that are going on in the textile industry, the new technology, the new different products that are offered. So we do advise you to call in, talk to some textile specialists so you can know and be up to par on what's going on in the industry. Currently, we have over 500 direct-to-garment and dye sublimation units in the field and installed. Just to kind of give you a little bit of background on who we are and what we do. So some people don't know what direct-to-garment printing is, and so we're just going to go into a little bit more detail and just to understand exactly what it is. What is DTG printing? DTG, which is also known as direct-to-garment printing or digital printing, is a process of printing on textiles that utilizes a specialized technology of water-based inks to print onto cellulose-based fibers, not limited to polyesters, when using the appropriate pretreatment solution. Now, we're going to talk a little bit about what dye sublimation is. Dye sublimation is a chemical process that converts ink from a solid to a gas to transfer the artwork onto the polyester or polymer-coated substrate when using a specific time, temperature, and pressure, which is very important. So, the question I would like for you to carry in the back of your mind during this entire presentation is, what is the end product? With knowing your end product, this presentation will present to us and make apparent which technology best fits your product line, your business, your clientele. During such crazy times, we have to keep a positive mindset. So when deciding between the technology that's best for you, we are considering all things that you can do with each technology, starting with DTG. One of the things that DTG offers is natural fibers. Those fibers can be anything from bamboo to hemp to rayon, just to name a few. Oopsies, sorry friends, you're not supposed to see that yet. Then we're going to go into our blend. It used to be that you could only do natural fibers with DTG, but with new advancements in the DTG world, Epson created a poly pre-treat to allow for synthetic fibers. Now you can do 50-50s, tri-blends, polyester, and just remember, polyester has to be done, a certain process has to be mastered. So it's not impossible, but it is something that we are willing and ready to train you on. When we're looking at any color, you can print onto any color background. That just means that whether it's a hat, a t-shirt, or any of those types of things, because of the ink technology, we're able to lay down a white base and then add color on top to afford you the opportunity to be able to print onto any color that you have in a garment or substrate. Now, moving on to any substrate that can be laid flat, most people think that you can only print on t-shirts. Using different attachments, you can do hats, koozies, sleeves, pillowcases, canvas bags, shoes, and much more, just to name a few. You just got to get creative and find your niche. As far as our small footprint, DTG does have a small footprint, but also remember that depends on the equipment you start out with, Most start out with a full setup of a pre-treater, a printer, and a heat press. Some don't need a pre-treater because they are only printing using white or light garments, not needing the pre-treater, or they decide to pre-treat manually. So you have a few different options to work with a footprint, but initially the DTG machine does have a very small footprint to allow you to put it on a table, a desk, any type of hard surface that can handle up to 180 pounds. Now on to dye sublimation. Dye sublimation is able to handle synthetics, meaning polyester or anything that's a polymer coated object. So you are able to print on white or clear, and all of those things you print on will start off as white, a white fabric, whether it's sewn or not sewn, or a clear aluminum panel. So if you're doing some sort of photography or a print for a photographer using large metals or anything of that sort, sometimes you can have either a white coating or you can have a clear coating where you can see that actual aluminum come through that image, which kind of ties into our hard or soft substrates. So you can print on mugs, socks, blankets, keychains, clocks, ornaments, just to name a few of those. The possibilities are endless. Just so you know, you are able to print on those different substrates. It gives you a little bit more flexibility in what you can produce for your customer. Now, a really cool part about dye sublimation is you are able to run high volume runs. This gives you the opportunity to either one, do one-offs or do continuous printing on rolls of media or even unintended printing overnight with a click of a button after setting up your job. So you're not having to sit next to your printer and make sure that it's running properly. You're able to set up a job, click print, and it's ready to roll for you. Another thing that is really cool about dye sublimation is the hand. So this just is the way that the garment actually feels. There's no hand when it comes to dye sublimation, and we'll discuss this a little bit more further in our next slide. Moving on to what is the hand and durability. Now, when we're looking at direct-to-garment printing, it has a soft hand to it. Just the way that it feels because of the fact that the printed garment is printed on top of the fibers. So you have a feel once you heat press it. Now, depending on if you're going to use a heat press or a conveyor dryer, the heat press will embed the fibers to give you that soft feel, whereas a conveyor dryer will just allow the ink to actually just sit on top of the garment, which gives you a little bit more of a rougher feel like a screen printed garment gives you. When it comes to durability, the Epson direct-to-garment printer, the F2100, has been tested using the AACTT score and scored a 5 out of 5. Now, just to kind of give you a little bit of background on what that testing is, AATCC stands for the American Association of Textile Chemists and Colorists, They evaluate the color fastness to laundering of textiles expected to withstand frequent laundering. So this method allows an evaluation of color loss and surface change by using a detergent solution and an abrasive action. What that means is that you are able to score a 1 out of 5, 5 being the greatest. Epson was able to score a 5 out of 5, which means that it's able to get 30 to 60 washes before you're able to see an actual change in that garment. You won't really see a ton of change where it will crack. What will happen is it'll start to fade. It has the stretchability for durability to be able to last a long time over a couple of years. Moving on to our dye sublimation side. There is no hand like we talked about before with dye sublimation, because if you remember the description that we gave, the definition, what's happening is using time, temp, and pressure, the inks are being transformed into a gas and opening up into those polymers. So whether it's a polyester t-shirt or a polymer coated metal, what's happening is the the polymers are opening up and accepting that ink. So with that ink, once it has cooled, it has now become one with the garment. So you won't experience any washouts or any fading unless you are holding out that garment outside and it's indirect UV sunlight, where your fading will happen over a 3-month period on, say, a soft substrate as such a flag that you see outside or a banner material that's sitting outside. That will start to fade over a 3-month period. But if you're using aluminum metal like a Chromolux, if it's sitting in direct UV lighting, you will see that it'll start to fade over a 3-year period. Anything that's on the inside that's not being in direct sunlight, you'll see it last a lot longer over the years, and the actual garments like t-shirts will start to deteriorate before your color starts fading out of it because it's become one with that garment. So in all of this, the real question is, who is your customer or your target market? The reason why this is really, really important is because knowing who your target market or your customer for your product is essential. This helps gain insight on who you are going to go after to sell your product to. It then opens you up to creativity, to ideas of other product line offerings that you can offer to your customer. This is all about finding your niche, expanding your business, and determining the technology that is going to help you achieve these goals. For example, if you're looking at schools, churches, clubs, family reunions, wedding events, special events, artists, or even sports teams, take into account of, if I'm selling to a school, what can I sell them if I'm using direct-to-garment printing? Well, I can sell them a lot of spirit wear because I'm going to sell them t-shirts for different clubs and events that they have going on at the school. Well, with Dye Sublimation, I can also still go after that school to be able to sell them jerseys, to sell them bandanas, to sell them metal substrates with the children's pictures on it from the schools, with a magnetic that can go on there, a Christmas ornament that can be hung with the school's name, the student's picture, their club number, all of those different ideas to be able to sell to that one customer market. So when you're looking at what your end product is going to be, once you determine that end product, then we can determine, well, which technology is best for us. Is it direct to garment, or is it dye sublimation, or is it both? Because in that, what you can do is you then can take it a step further and decide, well, with this market that I'm going after, what other things can I offer to my clientele that I can start making more profit out of this particular technology? Just to give you a few ideas. So what's always important when we are looking at technology, what people want to consider is, what is the cost? What is it going to cost me in order to, one, buy into this business? What is my startup cost? And what is my cost to print? So that I can then determine what my profit margins are going to be. So depending on the equipment that you're going to start up with on the direct-to-garment side, it can range from $13,000 to $22,000. The reason I say this is because some customers already have heat presses, especially if you started in doing vinyl and you're weeding, or you've done screen printing, you want to jump into direct-to-garment printing to do some one-offs or some custom garments for customers for low minimum quantities. You have that opportunity. So a lot of people don't need a heat press. So then that leaves you with needing a pre-treater and a printer. Now, some customers decide, I'm not going to be doing any dark color garments, so I don't necessarily need a pre-treater, which then gets you down to the cost of a printer, which you're going to need either way. So currently, with the printer being $12,995, that puts you at that $13,000 range. So that's going to be your base cost. And if you need anything additional, that's where it adds up to get you the range between $22,000. Now, if we're looking at our average cost of print on white garments, it's going to be anywhere from 50 cents to $1 in ink cost alone. What's really great about the direct-to-garment printer is that Epson actually has a software that comes with that printer called Garment Creator. And it actually has a cost estimator inside of it that allows you to drop in your image and then go ahead and set the mode of quality that you want to go on. And then it then allows you to click estimate your job. This is going to allow you to know how much it's going to cost you to print this one particular job, and you can add in your profit margins that you would like to make on top of that, so that you can then give your customer an estimate on what the job is going to be. When it comes to your dark color garments, because you're going to lay down a white base and then color, you're going to see your price go from $1.25 to $3.50, in ink cost. Now, this doesn't include the cost of your actual garment, which is really solely based off of you and what brands you go with. We do over at IT Supplies offer a selection list of brands that we think are really great brands to work with, because we've been able to prove and see really great print quality. When it comes to pre-treat, because you're going to only pre-treat on dark color garments, and because of the size of the garment that you're going to print on, whether it's a full 14 by 16 that you're going to be doing, a small logo, a onesie, depending on the size, that's going to depend on how much pre-treat is going to be laid down. The typical amount of pre-treat that you're going to lay down is 30 grams per garment that you're using. So that's going to vary, and you can see that being from anywhere from 11 to 20 cents in pre-treat cost. Now, I kind of touched on it a little bit of the substrate that you're going to use, because you're able to use hats, t-shirts, hoodies, all of those various things. The cost of your garment is going to vary, and so that's up to you to put in the garment cost inside of the estimator to then tell you what your full cost to produce one garment is going to be. Now, on our dye sublimation side, because Epson has so many different, has a couple of different printers in their lineup, you're going to be looking at anywhere from $7,000 to $50,000 in startup costs. Because one, you're going to need a heat press, whether it's a flat press or a rotary press, and then you're also going to need a printer. So that's where your cost is going to come into play when it comes to that. And we can speak to you more in detail about those different options depending on what your end product is. Because if your end product is going to be metals of any sort, then you're going to be looking at a flat press. But if you're only going to do apparel that you need to do cut and sew on, then you'd be looking more at a rotary press where you're able to do roll to roll, just to kind of give you an idea. The average cost to print is going to be anywhere from 14 to 19 cents per square foot, and that's your ink and transfer paper included. This matters because if you're going to do something like a mug, it's a hard substrate and it's not absorbing ink. The ink is sitting on top of it, even though it becomes one with it. So once you realize you're not going to have a hand for it, but it is still going to sit there, all the ink is being transferred onto there. When it comes to apparel, apparel is a material. It's going to absorb that ink, so it's going to be a little bit more to your cost of print on the apparel side. So like I was mentioning before, your substrate versus hard and soft substrates are going to vary depending on what you decide your end product to be, whether it's a teardrop flag that's hanging outside of a business, an all-over t-shirt that's already sewn together that you've printed on top of, a cut and sew jersey that you've printed and you've now put together, whether it's a cyclist uniform, a dance unitard, or just a track uniform. You have some varieties there. With your hard substrates, whether it's an aluminum hard panel or you're doing keychains, dog tags, or even some different variables like that, you have some options, and a textile print specialist like myself and others on my team are more than happy to speak with you in more detail about some different options that we offer. So, coming to the end of our presentation, the question is, which technology is for you after thinking about the end product? Is it DTG? Is it dye sublimation? Or is it both? I'm going to open the floor now for questions. Thank you so much. Back to you, Bob.
Thank you, Malaya. That was great information. At this time, I would like to open the group for questions. Please take a moment now to type your question into the question box. While we wait for the questions to appear, I'd once again like to thank Malaya for sharing this great information with all the attendees. I'm sure by now everyone has a better understanding of DTG and dye sublimation. Let me now take a moment to tell you about IT Supplies. As many of you know, IT Supplies is here to support your needs for everything related to the perfect print. Our knowledgeable staff and tech support specialists are here to help you with supplies and support to keep your business running. In addition, we are posting daily videos on our YouTube channel to help with many of your commonly asked questions. Please contact your sales representative for any assistance you may need. If you don't know how to contact your rep, you can call 1-800-771-9665 and ask for a commercial sales specialist. We are here to help you and your business succeed. All right, Malaya, you should have a few questions here. Someone was asking, has anyone attempted DTG printing on wool or wool blends?
So wool is not actually a natural fiber. Well, no, I'm sorry. Wool is a natural fiber. I'm sorry, I was thinking about dye sub. Wool is a natural fiber, so that would be something that you'd be able to test on. We currently don't have any customers that do wool or wool blends, but we are open and ready to, if you would like us to do any type of samples, we can definitely do that and work on those and see what the outcome would be, just because we don't have any customers that currently do it. But because it is a natural fiber, it should work. The only thing that I could see, being an issue is with the fibers being coarse and if that garment is treated or not. So that's what we would have to figure out, because some of the garments like that can be treated, are treated, and so that would cause an issue with pre-treating it and it possibly burning underneath the heat press. So we would definitely have to look deeper into like what the contents are, if it's raw, if it has a treatment on top of it already. And so that would be something that we would have to look into, but it's not something that's impossible. So we do have that option of, if you would like to send us a product that you're looking at, if you would like to send that in to us, we can definitely work on that for you, especially with one of your images that you're looking at accomplishing. We can do that and work with you for it. So I hope that answers the question a little bit.
Perfect. Another one just came in. Has anyone tried DTG printing on modal fabrics?
On who?
MODAL.
Modal fabrics.
Oh.
Would you be able to explain? Can you send in a question? It's a great question, but I would have to get back to you on that. Could you be able to send in another question, basically not a question, but an answer, basically telling me more about the product, because then we'd be able to give you a little bit more information on it.
Okay, and then we just got another question. Isn't there a smaller dye sublimation printer from Epson?
There is. So Epson actually offers a desktop 24-inch dye sublimation printer. It is called the Epson SureColor F570.
Perfect. I think that is it for, we just, modal fabric is derived from beechwood fibers. I think this goes back to the wool question and probably something we'd need to test on.
Yeah, so we would definitely have to test on it because it's basically cotton and spandex mixed together. So we would basically just do some testing for you. It definitely could work, but we would like to be able to give you a 100% answer because of the fact that it kind of goes back to it may be treated already. So we don't want to basically have some issues where it's burning. So we would have to test that for sure, but we're definitely open to doing that for you.
Okay.
Do we have any more other questions?
I think that's it on the question side. Do you have anything else you'd like to add?
No, I'd just like to thank everybody for coming and participating. I appreciate all the questions. And this was just another webinar in a series of Knowledge is Power. So we do have, for the rest of April, we do have more webinars that are going on every Friday at 1 p.m. the same time. But we have a few different manufacturers that are jumping in on this and going to be speaking more about directed garment printing, dye sublimation printing, and also speaking about Epson software. So it's really good educational courses that you can ask the experts, manufacturers, more details about their software and just more information to get a better understanding. So I welcome you to it.
Perfect. Well, I just want to thank all the attendees as well. Everyone's been pretty tremendous here. And like Malaya said, next week we'll have another webinar on Friday. It's focused on dye sublimation technology and the markets it can serve. And in addition to that series, we're running a parallel series on the HP latex. That'll be next Thursday, time to be determined, but you can monitor this and all of our webinars on our website at itsupplies.com, or contact your sales rep, or look at our LinkedIn page.
Thanks so much for watching this. If you would like to see more of these videos, please go to our YouTube channel.